Hi, it's Kellyanne Conway.
And I'm David Plouffe, and we have some surprising news. We're teaming up for a brand new podcast, The Campaign Managers.
I know what you're thinking. Why would Plouffe and Kellyanne do this?
Because frankly, Kellyanne, we disagree on just about every issue, except about what it takes to win a presidential campaign. Kellyanne ran Donald Trump's campaign. I ran Barack Obama's campaign. We understand things like early vote. We understand how to leverage an opportunity and how to play defense when you've made a mistake.
2024 is an election like none other. And David Plouffe and I are going to take you behind the scenes like no one else can.
We're going to lean into our one-of-a-kind experiences, really educate our listeners about what to keep an eye on, and discuss the current strategies and tactics that both campaigns are deploying on the campaign trail.
We're going to disagree, we're going to dissent, but we're going to deliver. You won't want to miss this unique pairing. Join us by listening to The Campaign Managers with Kellyanne Conway and David Plouffe.
The first episode is out May 22nd, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 367 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm recuperating from CrimeCon.
Yeah.
You and I waited an extra day to record just because we were kind of tired.
A little wiped out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a fun weekend. But it takes something out of you, no doubt about it. It was a lot of fun, though.
Oh, I had a blast, man.
We got to meet a lot of people that we've known for years, got to meet a lot of new people, met a ton of people who don't listen to the show.
No.
And got to talk to them about it, and hopefully they'll give us a try.
It worked out really well because you would talk to them about the show. Mm-hmm. While you were doing that, I took their phones and went into the apps and made sure we were uploaded, and then put their phone back without them ever knowing.
Why are you whispering?
I don't know.
It's like you're like it's a secret that you are telling everybody who listens to this podcast. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Kelly Thane.
Hey, Thane.
Zoe.
What's going on, Zoe?
James Rushworth.
Hey, thanks, James.
Charity.
Well, good old Charity.
Iris Hop.
What up, Hop?
Martin.
Hey, Martin.
Ginger.
Well, there's Ginger.
Danielle jumped out to her highest level.
Oh, thank you so much, Danielle.
Darren Abs.
What up, Darren?
You think with a name like that you have to keep a six-pack?
I think so. I think it's kind of like an obligation.
It almost would be.
Yeah.
Brandon Friart.
Easy for you to say.
Katie Long.
Hey, Long.
And last but not least, Jamie.
J to the A to the M to the IE. Did I do that right?
Kind of, I guess. I don't know that there's a wrong way to do whatever it is you just did.
I'm like, did I spell that right?
Yeah, I think you did. And then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Tish, not Trish.
Yeah, Tish, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for all the Patreon support. We also had a great PayPal donation from Christina Peterson.
All right, Peterson.
So thank you to everyone. Gibbs, right now we have a new episode out on True Crime All the Time where we're talking about Wendy Mae Davidson. She was a veterinarian and claims that she found her husband dead.
Yeah.
Obviously, the police suspected her right away, and things kind of progressed from there.
Very interesting case.
Yeah, it is. All right, buddy, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I am ready.
We're talking about the mysterious disappearance of Ivon and Inisha Fowler. Ivon and Inisha Fowler are fraternal twins who have been missing since 2006. And, to me, that right there is pretty unusual. The disappearance of twins. It's not something that, I've heard about. I'm sure it's happened before. It's just not something that I've heard about. But what makes this case even more unusual is the fact that their disappearance was not discovered until the summer of 2016.
2016.
That is 10 years.
It's a long time to keep that down the down low.
Well, and then you have their mother. She has not been able to account for their whereabouts and apparently has given multiple false statements to the police.
Some bizarre statements for sure.
And we'll get into all of those, but just how strange is that? 10 years goes by and a mother doesn't report her twins missing, doesn't contact the police. That makes sense to no one.
No, unless you're guilty of something.
And I'm sure we'll get into it, but a lot of people are probably going to think that. Authorities believe the twins are dead, but there just isn't enough evidence at this point to prove this. And we do see this in quite a few unsolved cases. There is what you would have to consider, let's call them a prime suspect or a person of interest very high on the list. And sometimes there's only one in a case, but everything is circumstantial. Everything kind of points to them, but that's not enough to convict a person. You got to have some solid evidence when you take someone to trial for whatever, but especially murder or, something along those lines.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ivon and Inisha Fowler were born on October 23rd, 1998. If they're still alive, they would be 25 years old. The twins lived in the Pittsburgh area with their mother, Patricia Fowler, and several siblings, including their older brother, Daquan Fowler, who was a year older. On November 8th, 2000, 2-year-old Ivon suffered second and third degree burns to 46% of his body, including his hands and face. According to the Charlie Project, Patricia did not call for an ambulance until November 9th. Ivon was hospitalized until December 13th.
I mean, that to me sounds like abuse. If your child gets burnt that bad, 40% of their body, and you're not taking them to the hospital until the next day, that's a problem.
Yeah, I think it's a huge problem. Now, every parent goes through a situation with their kids where, let's say they're running a little fever, or they have a cough or something like that. And you have to make the decision. Do, I give them some medicine, wait and see how they feel tomorrow, or do we need to run up to the emergency room? That's not what we're talking about here.
No, this is third degree burns.
This would have been so very clear that your child needs immediate medical attention. Patricia claimed that Ivon's older brother scalded him with bathwater. Now, I know bathwater can get pretty hot.
Yeah.
But it must have been really hot if it caused third degree burn.
Yeah.
And then also I have to ask the question, well, who's running this bath?
Exactly.
And checking the temperature and all of that.
And why wait to take your child? What's going on that you see your child in pain like that and you choose to wait? Is that because you just felt like he'll be okay, I got this? Or is it because you're not in a condition to take your child?
Or is it because it didn't happen the way you said it happened?
Exactly.
So, I mean, there are a lot of different scenarios there that you can go through. I think the one thing that is clear is that it was a very bad decision. And that's probably putting it too mildly. I would call it criminal. Child abuse.
Yeah.
You said it.
Absolutely.
The twins were taken from her care, but were returned within a couple of days. Caseworkers from the local Department of Children, Youth, and Families did not notify the police, but they did continue to have contact with Patricia after this incident, mostly due to her failure to ensure her children attended school. So it wasn't just this incident. There were a lot of things going on where a protection agency felt as though they needed to have contact with her to check on these kids.
Yeah, to make sure she's doing the minimum that she's required to do as a parent. Send your kids to school.
But she wasn't.
No.
And I know you and I have probably talked about it before, but these instances where you have some sort of protection agency, and they vary, state to state, but there's always an agency that is supposed to look out for children.
Sure.
And they're doing house checks sometimes, or doing follow-ups, and then it comes out later that there were umpteen number of incidents, but they never stepped in.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that was absolutely the case here, but there have been many cases like that have kind of given some of those agencies, those specific agencies, a black eye, just because it's very clear in some cases that the kids should have been removed.
Yes, and they failed to act on that.
Yes. Specifically, I'm kind of thinking of the case of Gabriel Fernandez.
Oh, yeah. Good.
I mean, that's
reference.
Probably the one that people point to the most. It's believed that Ivon and Inisha Fowler have been missing since September 11th, 2006. They were 7 years old at that time. But as we mentioned early on, their disappearance was not discovered until June 20th, 2016.
That's ridiculous.
Well, it seems like it should almost be impossible. Were they not enrolled in school? Would the school not wonder where they are?
Yeah. Are they truant? I mean, can you be truant at that age? I guess you can, right? Because you're missing.
Yeah.
It's the parents' fault.
It is. But obviously, during that 10-year period, this Department of Children, Youth, and Families was not checking up on them because they would not have seen them. So on June 20th, 2016, the police went to Patricia's home in Penn Hills, Pennsylvania. They had orders from the Allegheny County Department of Children, Youth, and Families to remove all of Patricia's children from the home. According to the Charlie Project, Patricia was under investigation for medical neglect of 4 children. All of them had medical conditions and had missed about 6 dozen appointments in total.
Definitely not screaming out Mom of the Year.
No. And normally I would say I don't want to badmouth, but sure. I don't have a problem here. I got to be completely honest with you. This is a person who, as a parent, is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They are not taking care of their children. And I feel pretty confident in saying that. The 4 children were removed from the home, but were eventually returned to Patricia's custody. A caseworker continued the investigation and discovered that Patricia had 2 more children. On July 6th, the Department of Children, Youth, and Families informed the police that Ivon and Inisha, who would have been 17 at the time, were unaccounted for.
You imagine having that conversation? Hey, you had 2 more kids. They'd be 17 now. Where are they?
I'm still trying to figure out what happened in the 10-year span.
Oh, for sure.
Where nobody checked up on or nobody figured out that they were unaccounted for.
Like, maybe she didn't allow her family to ever see the kids or talk to them or have any contact. But I'm just trying to figure out how does anybody in that family don't realize that they're missing the school, children's services.
Well, and I'm really focusing on that.
Yeah.
Because they had contact very early on. And then for whatever reason, there was nothing during this 10-year period. And then all of a sudden, it's like they remove 4 children from the home.
Yeah. And I wonder if Daytwan ever thought, hey, what happened to my younger brother and sister? I haven't seen them in a while. I haven't seen them for 10 years. Where'd they go?
Now, he was also very young at the time that they supposedly disappeared. But yeah, you're right. Now, I'm assuming the younger kids would have no knowledge, possibly. Detective Leo Joey went to the home in Penn Hills to conduct a welfare check. He told WPXI, "I figured it was a simple misunderstanding. And when we first talked to her, she was great. She invited us in the house, showed us around, and said, 'Here's all the information.'" Patricia told him that the twins were living with family, but there was no evidence to support her statement.
Yeah, but you would think if that was the case, it'd be pretty easy to prove, right? She's living with my uncle and aunt in South Carolina, wherever.
I would think in 5 minutes, you could make a phone call and figure out whether or not that was a true statement.
Yeah, here, talk to the kids.
Patricia was brought in for further questioning. She was adamant that the twins were alive and well, but she told multiple stories, all of which were proven false.
Yeah, we know how that goes, right? When you start mixing up your stories and starting off with this story, then switching to this story, you're not telling the truth.
Yeah, I think more times than not, most of the time, that's what that means. Because as we've said many, many times, the truth is very easy to tell. It happened one way. And if you ask me tomorrow, I'll say the same thing. Now, if you ask me in 20 years, I might have a little harder time. But if it's in the same day and I tell you 6 different versions, you know something is up.
Right.
And you know police definitely know something's up. They do this for a living. A lot of times they can tell when people are lying when they're only telling one story.
Oh, absolutely.
But if you tell multiple stories, their radar goes off very quickly. Initially, Patricia said that her children were living with Corey Brooke and Cheryl Walker in South Carolina. She gave a number and address that were incorrect.
Well, I didn't know you were actually going to try to call them. Shoot, that didn't work out, did it?
It's like, hell, I'll write you a check. I thought you wanted money.
Yeah.
According to the Pittsburgh Tribune Democrat, she also provided an address that turned out to be a vacant storefront, and she named a city in Georgia that does not exist.
She's just making up all kind of stuff.
I know. That last part sounds like something you would do.
Or have done.
And you have done. The police located Cheryl Walker, who by that time had a different last name, according to a criminal complaint. She said she never saw the missing children, doesn't know their names, and had no idea that Fowler had twin children. Okay, not helping your story.
No.
The police spoke to the twins' father, who said Patricia told him the twins were living with an aunt in South Carolina. So at this point, the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department and the FBI got involved in the case.
I think they have to.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not think that something is going on here? This is a mother who's had multiple children removed from her home at different points. She has 2 kids who are unaccounted for, and she's given us multiple statements, none of which have turned out to be anywhere close to the truth.
So right now, I mean, she looks like a liar.
I think that's a fair statement.
Reminds me a little bit of that one story we did on TCAT where the mom and the new boyfriend were living in Hawaii, and they would tell everybody that the kids were fine. They were with, this family member. And
was that the Lori Daybell?
Yes.
Yeah.
It just amazes me what some people will go through.
Or what they think they can get away with.
Yeah.
That people aren't going to check this out. The police aren't going to make a phone call. They're going to follow up.
Yeah, why wouldn't they?
They just don't take people's word.
Yeah, they're with Aunt Jenny, 8675309. They're good. Don't worry about them.
Oh, okay. You look trustful.
Yeah.
You can go back home. Patricia then said that the kids were with Corey Brooks and another woman. She also gave a phone number that she claimed belonged to her son, Ivon. She recanted this statement and said that the phone number belonged to a friend. She also admitted to lying to the twins' father. I mean, there's so many lies at this point. There's no possible way that the police are going to believe anything this woman said.
Oh, she's lying about the lies.
Then she said the twins were with her friend Lisa Hugh, but she recanted this statement as well.
She does that a lot, it seems like right now, right?
Well, I'm assuming that once she makes this statement, she's then asked to back it up. She's unable to. And so she says, well, that's not, I'm recanting. That's not right.
Yeah.
And then she tries to come up with the next one. When the police pressed her for more information, Patricia said she sold her children.
Does that just like make you get sick to your stomach?
Yes. Knowing how much I love my children, and also knowing how many people out there want children, but let's say can't have them. I just don't understand how someone could make the decision to sell their children.
Yeah, they're a commodity. Let me sell them.
She explained that several years earlier, she met a man named Mike at a bar in Homestead, Pennsylvania. Mike introduced her to a woman named Barbara. Patricia said she sold the twins to Barbara for $2,000 each.
So she needed $4,000 so much, she was willing to part with her 2 kids, twins, for this money that would probably won't last very long, but to give up a lifetime with her kids, if you believe what she's saying is true.
Which is pretty hard to do at this point.
Absolutely, because she's told, I don't know, this time I've lost count how many times she's lied.
Yeah, it's 5 or 6 times, right, at this point. But here's the thing that kind of went through my mind is she was giving these versions that are very easy to disprove, right? They're with a family member. Okay, I call the family member. I don't know what you're talking about. Or that address doesn't exist. That's not a real phone number. Now, this one's a little more murky. It's going to be harder. You're going to have to figure out, okay, who's this Mike guy? Who's this Barbara? How do we either corroborate the story or disprove it? Patricia said Barbara met the children several times before she bought them. And that's just really hard to say. She bought them. Like I have an old bike that I put on Facebook Market.
I'm just trying to figure out how this all goes. You know, hey, come over to the house, preview them. If you like them, go ahead and close the deal. You know what? This Barbara comes over. She's like, I kind of like them. I'm not sure yet. I need to come back a few more times. And then I'll let you know if this is going to go through.
And you said sick to your stomach. And that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Just the thought that someone could make this decision. Again, if any of this is true.
Right.
I had to put a caveat on everything that this woman says. She also said she spoke to Barbara earlier that day, and the number she said belonged to Ivon actually belonged to Barbara. But police couldn't make contact with anyone at this number. It belonged to a cell phone with no operating voicemail. But at least it was a real number.
It actually dialed through.
Right. So did she just get lucky?
I think she probably did.
Come up with a number that just happened to be a cell phone with no voicemail?
Yeah.
Or is she getting closer to the truth? I'm not saying she's telling the truth, but is she getting closer? Because, you know, I do think what a lot of people do is they'll give you a little bit. They'll give you something that's true, but then most of it is a lie.
Yeah. The best liars do that, right?
Yes.
They trickle in enough of the truth so that when they have to repeat it, they have some of that in their head so they don't get caught up in the lie as easily. So
when Patricia was told that selling her children was illegal, she said, I didn't sell them then, and retracted her statement.
Oh, did I say I sold them? No, I didn't sell them.
And first of all, who doesn't know that selling your children is illegal?
I mean, I just feel like that would be common sense, right?
Well, I don't think you can use the term common sense here. We're not seeing any common sense.
I just wonder how, like, Patricia's family, are they all just shaking their heads during all this stuff? You know, one, I'm sure they're extremely upset because they don't know where their grandbabies are or nieces and nephew or however the relationship is. And they're thinking, if you didn't want to care for them, why didn't you come to us?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, that's the way I look at it. If I had somebody in my family that couldn't care for their kids, don't go sell them or do something bad. Bring them over.
Well, and I don't know what point they found out about these 5, 6, 7 different lies, but that couldn't have gone over well.
Right.
Penn Hills Police Chief Howard Burton told the local outlet WTAE, that's the problem with her. She's all over the place. We just don't know what to believe or not to believe. And I would say to him, don't believe anything because none of it is true so far.
And does it make it hard for you to take any type of action against her because she's so inconsistent that how do you go after her for child endangerment or whatever the charge could be?
Well, I think at this point, they're just still trying to gather evidence, but I mean, they're going to need a little bit of something.
Yeah.
Right. To charge her. The police have been unable to verify any of Patricia's explanations for the children's whereabouts.
Shocker.
Yeah, but this is part of what, floors me about this story. Number one, you have a mother who for 10 years didn't say anything. Family, the authorities, that her children are missing. And then she tries to say at the age of 17, which is what they would have been, they're living with all these different people. Well, none of it checks out. I sold them. That's illegal. No, I didn't. I didn't sell them. Well, something happened.
Yeah. How
do we get to the truth? And my thought is, it's going to be hard to get to the truth because whatever the truth is going to implicate you in some form or fashion.
Well, and my mind, the only thing I can think of is what she's avoiding saying must be worse than everything she's already said.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. Worse than selling your kids, which is illegal. And I think you're heading down a path of, could she possibly have done, the worst thing imaginable?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to blame anybody for something if they didn't do it, but it's not looking pretty.
No, it's not looking good. Detectives reached out to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and checked records in Pennsylvania and other states. There are no records that Ivon or Inisha Fowler were enrolled in school in Pennsylvania or other states. So again, not a good sign if the thought is they're out there living with someone.
Yeah, they're with their aunt, cousin, whoever, right?
Yes, they couldn't be with their cousin because that is not a real word, but I know what you're saying.
Agree to disagree.
Now, if they were trafficked, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, more throughout the episode, my assumption is they would not be going by Ivon and Inisha Fowler.
No, they'd have new names.
Yes.
New identities.
No other family members knew where the twins were. Some family members had not seen Ivon or Inisha since 2002 or 2003 when they were 4 and 5 years old. The only available photograph of the twins was taken when they were infants.
Man, that makes it so hard to try to find the kids.
Yeah. I mean, pretty hard, I would think, to do age progression photos off of a picture of a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
Much harder than if they were, 7, 8, something like that. But let's break this down. We know that family members didn't see them for that 10-year period between 2006 and 2016. Now they're saying we didn't see them for the 3 or 4 years before 2006. 2 siblings described how one twin disappeared after the other. They were simply gone one day and never came back, according to the Charlie Project. Chief Howard Burton told People that Patricia's 25-year-old daughter recalled coming home from school one day and the twins were gone. Additionally, 2 landlords who rented to Patricia between 2006 and 2015 were sure that the twins never lived with her. So we keep saying, right, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good. Well, here's more things piling up. Now you actually have, 2 of her other children saying one day one of them was gone. The next day the other was gone.
And you have a landlord saying from 2006 forward, they never lived in this apartment building. So that tells you they had to be missing since 2006.
On August 16th, 2016, Patricia Fowler was charged with obstruction, child endangerment, unsworn falsification to police, and 2 counts of concealing the whereabouts of a child. So none of these are good, but they're obviously not murder or, anything like that because the police have no proof whatsoever of what actually happened.
I don't get frustrated a lot, but this case has really gotten me frustrated. I'm sitting here, we're doing this recording, and my blood pressure's up.
Now, I know you very well, and I know your faces, your emotions, you're pissed.
Yeah.
I can tell it. But this is going to bring out those types of emotions, I think, in a lot of people. You have 2 kids who nobody sees for 10 years, but there are no alarms raised. And so, where's the family? Where's the school? Where are the agencies? My assumption, though, is that when it comes to the family, Patricia would have been very distant, not going to see family, not allowing family to come see her.
Right.
Because she's not going to be able to explain where Ivon and Inisha are. Chief Howard Burton told the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review, no one seems to know where they are. No one seemed to care. They just moved on. The more we dug into it, the more confusing it became.
I believe it.
Yeah, because I do think it is very confusing, would be very confusing to anybody who knew her, was related to her, anybody that knew she had these twins, to find out that nobody knows where they are. And it's also very confusing for the police because they don't know what happened. They know she's not telling the truth. On August 17th, the Penn Hills Police Department said they briefly made contact with someone who identified themselves as Ivon, using a number provided by Patricia on August 8th.
So Patricia provides the number. The police talk to somebody that claims to be Ivon, but nothing's verified that we know of.
Well, and it would be pretty hard to verify over the phone.
Right.
Nobody is going to know what Ivon sounds like. The police surely are not going to know.
No. And can we put it past her at this point because she's lied so much to have somebody she knows? Hey, I need you to use this phone and call this number, or if this number calls you, you need to answer it. I need you to say you're Ivon. I'm not saying that's what happened, but it could have happened.
Well, we reference Seinfeld a lot. And, how different is it than when George, went to the bathroom, told Kramer if somebody calls, answer the phone as Vandelay Industries. Of course, Kramer didn't do that. But when you're talking about a phone call, pretty much like it is online, people can claim to be anyone.
Yes. And you don't know.
Patricia requested a sit-down interview with Pittsburgh's Action News 4 reporter Kelly Brennan to tell her side of the story. She explained that she was a struggling mother. When she made the decision to give up the twins, their father was in and out of jail, so she sent them to live with family friend Cheryl Willis when they were 7 years old. She claimed that Willis initially had the twins in North Carolina, but they had been in Georgia since they were 13. Now, there's two things here that pop out to me. The first is this is a story that she has not told to law enforcement at this point. She's told a lot of stories, but this is not one of them. And then the second thing is it seems odd to me that she would want to do a sit-down interview. Okay, she wants to tell her side of the story. She's told her side of the story many different times.
Yes.
None of them have checked out.
Why should we believe you now? And if this is the truth, why wouldn't you walk into the police and say, hey, I know I lied, all that other stuff, I was scared. Here's what really happened.
But this is a story that's not all that different from some of the other lies. So it begs the question, if this was true, why not just tell this story from the beginning? The very first story you told law enforcement was something similar.
Yeah.
They were with, this person.
In South Carolina.
All you did was change it to a different person in North Carolina.
I mean, at the end of the day, if this is all true, it should be something that can be validated.
Sure. Reporter Kelly Brennan asked, bottom line, what is your ultimate truth about Ivon and Inisha? Patricia responded that they're with a family friend. Patricia explained how she struggled with all the questioning she went through, telling Action News 4, at the time, being that I have a learning disability, it's like a lot of questions they're asking me and I don't understand. It's like 3 of them are asking me the same question and like interrogating me. And I feel like that was the problem when I came in. I didn't know what to do. And I knew for a fact I didn't sell my kids and they're not missing. Okay, so I want to say this first off. It could be true that she has a learning disability, and that would make it tougher for anyone in a pressure cooker interrogation setting.
For sure.
But here's the thing. I still don't understand why you would tell a very similar story than the one you're saying now is true. Why would you just not have told that from the beginning?
Right. When I come out of the gate with the true story, this is the true story now.
Yes.
You have the kids. You had 6 kids that I know of. I think it was 6. I don't know if it was 6 or 7 children that she had.
Maybe 7 because we talked about an older
one
daughter.
So you bring those kids into the world, you're responsible for them. And when you go to the police and they want you to be accountable for them, just tell them what happened. I get it's terrible to have a learning disability, but you kind of set yourself up when you continue to lie. That's when they're going to get probably more aggressive with you because you're not making any sense. And they're going to sense the fact that you're trying to hide something.
Patricia said about her kids, I had contact with them throughout the years. Over the years, I've had contact with them, but they've moved. It's like I don't have no information about the move, and then I give the cops the number, and it's up to them. And they got to call and get all the information from this friend. Patricia's son, Daytwan, also spoke to Action News 4 and said he'd been in contact with Ivon on social media. He claimed Ivon was in Pittsburgh on August 17, 2016, but was taking a bus back to Georgia. He gave reporter Kelly Brennan a phone number, but her calls went to voicemail. And this is pretty interesting because up until now, we've really only talked about what Patricia has said.
Right.
But now Daytwan is actually talking to the media, and he's saying Ivon was in Pittsburgh in 2016.
On social media, wouldn't they be able to find some type of record? Maybe not, but I'm thinking maybe they could. And remember, if he's going by Ivon, and they did that school search for records and never found anything, it seems a little strange, unless Ivon never went to school.
Well, back to your earlier point, if you want to clear it all up in your Daytwan, you could produce the communication that you had with Ivon. You could give them his Facebook account or whatever All of these things that we keep talking about seem to be pretty easy to clear up, but the police are never able to clear them up.
And this is blown up in the media at the time. Are you telling me that somehow it's not getting back to the twins? I would think if you were the twin, if you're Ivon or Inisha, you're thinking, we're right here. Let me just call the police up and say.
If you know who you are.
Yeah.
If you know that you're Ivon.
Right.
If you know that you're Inisha Fowler. If you've been living under a different name since you were an infant, maybe you don't know.
Well, that's true. But if Daytwan's telling the truth,
then his brother knows who he is.
Yeah.
Shortly after his mother was charged, 18-year-old Daytwan Fowler was accused of impersonating Ivon Fowler. He was charged with intimation, relation, or obstruction in child abuse cases, criminal conspiracy, obstructing administration of law or other government function, and giving false identification to law enforcement.
Well, there you go.
And that helps to clear that part of the mystery up, except for the reason why. Why would Daytwan do this? Was it to help out his mother? That part we still have to figure out.
Right.
The complaint stated that the Penn Hills police received a Facebook message from Ivon D. Fowler on August 17th. The user provided the same phone number Patricia provided during her interview on August 8th. Several calls went straight to voicemail and several calls were missed. A detective sent a text to the number and received a response from someone identifying himself as Ivon. He said he and Inisha were in Atlanta. He declined to speak and shut the device off.
Okay. So this individual with the phone, they think they're smarter than the authorities. They're like, you know what? I think we can fool them. I'm going to buy this phone. I'm going to say it's Ivon's. I'm going to make an account on Facebook and say it's him. Send that message. And when they call, I'm not going to answer. And when they text, I'll text back. And then I'll just kill the phone. I'll shut it off. They'll never know.
But that will put police completely off.
Yeah.
Of my mom, myself. But that goes back to people thinking that they're smarter than what they are, because you can just look at that and know that police are never going to fall for something like that.
No.
First of all, back to something you said, which is if you are Ivon, if you are Inisha, and you know that the police are wondering what happened to you, your mother is being questioned, and you really are with a family friend, you would answer the phone and clear the whole thing up. Or you would call the police station or the police department yourself.
Yeah. You're not going to just send a quick text message back. This is like back in the day when I wanted to spend the night at my girlfriend's house, but I wasn't allowed. So I would call my mom from my friend's house and say, hey, I'm spending the night over here using his phone. And as soon as I hung up, walk out the door and, go down the road a little bit and spend the night at my girlfriend's. Thinking my mom's not going to figure that out, but my mom did.
Yeah, and that was harder back then because you had to get connected through an operator and
I don't know about that, but my mom was like,
I need Madison 5227.
My mom was like, I knew you were lying because you never called me from your friend's house to tell me. You always would tell me before you left.
Yeah. Moms are kind of smart.
Yeah. And you already asked if you could spend your night at your girlfriend's that day, and I said no. So I knew right then. Oh my gosh, yeah. To make the story shorter, if I can even do that.
Not at this point.
No, but I left my friend's house. By the time I got down to my girlfriend's house, my mom was down the street with the lights off. And as soon as I turned into the driveway and walked through the door, she did that thing where she turned the brights on. Like I was like, caught. Yeah, it was like, oh, damn it.
Again, moms are smart.
They are.
So during this text conversation, the police tracked the phone and discovered it was in Penn Hills. When the phone was turned back on, it was tracked to Patricia's home.
Yeah. The police were like, bingo.
Yeah. I mean, who didn't see that coming? When the police executed a search warrant, They found Daquan Fowler trying to leave the home with the phone. He said he had planned on running once they showed up. He then admitted the number did not belong to Ivon, and he was actually the one they spoke to. He created a fake number and pretended to be Ivon so the police would stop asking him and his mother questions about the twins. He then said the twins were okay.
If the twins were okay, then you would allow the police to talk to them so they knew.
And you wouldn't have to go through this whole charade.
Absolutely. If you're tired of all this, then just tell the truth and put the police in contact with the twins, and it's all over.
A judge postponed the preliminary hearing for the second time. On September 12, 2016, Patricia was ordered to get a mental health evaluation and have no contact with children while she faced criminal charges. She wasn't in prison at this time, but Daquan was still in jail. His hearing was also postponed. Penn Hill's Chief Howard Burton said about the investigation, according to WTAE, they do exist because at one time, when they were 3 or 4 years old, I believe, CYF did take those 2 children from Fowler.
Yeah, so they're real. They're real kids.
Yeah, I never doubted that part. What I have doubted are all the stories about where they are now, where they have been.
Yeah.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released age-progressed images of the twins. Patricia's preliminary hearing took place on October 31st, 2016. Daquan waived his hearing. They were both ordered to stand trial on their respective charges. Detective Michael Kuma testified at the hearing, as quoted by the Williamsport Sun-Gazette. In my professional opinion, I believe they've met their demise. And I understand where that comes from. These children, as far as anyone can tell, have not been seen or heard from since they were, 6 or 7 years old?
Yeah.
They weren't out there taking care of themselves.
No.
Detective Kuma believes Ivon and Inisha are dead because of statements made by Daquan. Daquan said he believed the twins were sick when he last saw them on September 11, 2006. He specifically remembered Ivon being sick when they lived in Braddock, Pennsylvania. One night he went to bed and Ivon was not there when he woke up. Daquan said the same thing happened with Inisha a few years later. On the day of the hearing, WTAE reported that the children spent most of their lives locked in a bedroom, according to detectives and family. Their grandmother, Charlene Miller, told WTAE, I didn't know about the locked bedroom, but I know she didn't allow them out of the house. She wouldn't let them come to my house or to my daughters.
Yeah. She kept them away from family, like you mentioned. It just seems like a case of neglect when you hear some of this stuff.
A very serious case.
Yes.
And I would say abuse.
Yeah.
Not just neglect, abuse. My question is, was it just the 2 of them, or was it all the kids that were kept locked up? And why, if not, why just them?
Yeah, that's a good point. Did she have an issue with the 2 and not all of them?
Daquan's attorney, Richard McCague, said after the hearing that his client has been very loyal to his mother, but he declined to comment on the charges. And that is true. Daquan was very loyal to his mother to the point where he was willing to lie to police.
Yeah.
And, basically make up this whole charade to try to get the police off of his mom's back. In December 2016, a cadaver dog searched a house in the Pittsburgh area, but the search turned up no evidence. On January 25th, 2017, Patricia was charged with collecting more than $50,000 in welfare benefits on behalf of the twins. She was not immediately arrested, but was expected to surrender on charges of theft and making false statements to authorities.
It's pretty bad too, right? If we're no longer living with you, but yet you're still collecting money from the state.
And I think we're starting to get into the area of motive. Maybe not so much as it pertains to exactly what happened to them, but why she would not have reported what happened to them. And it was probably because she wanted to keep collecting these benefits.
Yeah.
According to the Pittsburgh Tribune Democrat, Patricia collected state food stamps, public assistance, and medical benefits. She had been collecting benefits since June 2011 and continued doing so through the end of August 2016 after she was charged with concealing the twins' whereabouts.
What's even worse, right?
Well, you would think someone at some level in a government agency would shut that down.
But it doesn't seem like there's a check and balance.
Patricia was arrested on the new charges a few days later and arraigned on January 29th. Afterwards, she was sent to the Allegheny County Jail. Several months later, on May 17th, 2017, a judge threw out most of the charges against Patricia due to lack of evidence. She was still in jail for the theft charges at this time. The judge let stand a charge of unsworn falsification, alleging Patricia made misleading statements to the police. So it does sound as though a lot of the charges, because I think she had like 4 charges.
Right.
Before the theft charges even came up, it sounds like the majority of them got thrown out. The judge found insufficient evidence to support the charges of obstruction and concealment, finding that Patricia did not obstruct the case or endanger the children because there was no evidence they had been harmed. And I get that. I mean, as tough as it sounds, if there's no evidence, there's no evidence.
Yeah. If you can't prove anything.
Now, common sense would tell you something's not right, but there's no evidence to prove what happened to them, if something did happen to them.
Right.
That makes it very tough from like a judge's standpoint.
Yeah, you got to stick with the law, right?
Now, the judge did criticize the Allegheny County Office of Children, Youth, and Families for not keeping better track of Ivon and Inisha over the years.
Yeah, I think they let the kids down.
Yeah, I think they dropped the ball. And we talked about it earlier. I had that question. You know, you have this alleged water scalding incident. There's no follow-up throughout the years, but yet there seemed to be a lot of stuff going on. The children were taken away. They were given back. But there's a 10-year period where there was no check on these 2 children.
No.
And there's no way around that. Caseworkers did not alert the police or start the process of removing Ivon from the home after he was badly burned in 2000. A caseworker testified at a 2006 hearing that the twins were reportedly living with relatives in North Carolina. 5 months later, the agency closed the case after a judge was told the twins could not be located. Additionally, the Office of Children, Youth, and Families could not validate that the 2 children viewed by caseworkers in 2006 were actually the twins. The child who was presented to them as Ivon did not have any burn scars, according to the judge.
This is a big mess.
It is. I mean, it's a cluster. And it sounds to me as though what Patricia tried to do with police during her interviews is what she did with some of these caseworkers. But they kind of just took it. Oh, the kids are in North Carolina. But there was no verification of that. And was that because they worked in Pennsylvania and didn't feel as though they needed to follow up? That wouldn't seem right.
It doesn't, but that could be the truth. The problem is when you have all this inconsistent information, it's not going to help the case.
No. And again, I do think they messed up here. I don't want to be too hard on caseworkers. I do believe that's a very tough job. But when they don't get it right, the ramifications can be disastrous. At the end of May, Patricia was released on a non-monetary bond.
That's just like saying, go ahead and go.
I mean, she's really, at this point, getting off pretty much scot-free for the first set of charges. But again, as the judge said, where's the evidence that she did anything other than, give some false statements?
Yeah.
Now, she did give a lot of them.
She did. But regarding the kids, they just don't have a case. It's going to be hard. You have to prove something illegal happened. I don't know if they can do that.
No, we can sit here and think that it did all we want. And you can go through a number of different scenarios. But like you said, finding the proof of that is going to be very tough.
Yeah.
On July 17, 2017, Patricia Fowler pleaded guilty to making false, unsworn statements, theft, and fraud. She was sentenced to 4 years probation. She's also required to pay back the $57,000 in public assistance she collected over the years. That same day, prosecutors dropped the charges against Daytwan Fowler. Daytwan's defense attorney said that Daytwan sent the message pretending to be Ivon at his mother's behest.
I think he was in a tough position as the older brother, the son.
Well, I can imagine Patricia going to him and saying, hey, can you do this for me? They won't get off my back. This will work. I could see that.
Yeah. And if we don't do this, something really bad's going to happen to me. And do you not want your mom around?
Yeah, I can see something like that. His defense attorney told the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette that Daytwan has a strained relationship with Patricia and has not seen the twins since they were all small children.
Which sounds like the truth, not the other statement that was made, like they're good, they're fine.
No, I think it is the truth. I don't think anyone has seen these kids since they were 6, 7 years old. Now, they might be living with a family under different names. They might have been sold by Patricia. I don't know. But as Ivon and Inisha Fowler, I don't think anyone has seen them.
No. And I think the statement that Daytwan made to his attorney about them being sick and 1 year one is gone and a year, 2 years later, the other one's gone. I think that sounds more like a viable statement.
Yeah, I think if you want to get into theories, there is a theory there that these kids died. And maybe it was due to neglect, abuse, bad parenting, all of that.
Yeah.
But Patricia didn't want to alert anyone because she wanted to collect all of these benefits.
Yeah, and she didn't want to end up going to jail for the neglect.
Yeah, you can add that on top of it. I mean, obviously there are other theories that she hurt these children, she killed these children, but there's no evidence of that.
No,
Doesn't mean it couldn't have happened.
No,
but,
it could have. Yeah, I mean, this is all just alleged.
Yeah. Again, she could have also sold the children and still collected on the benefits.
Yeah.
Because again, I truly believe if they are alive and they're living with somebody else, they grew up not knowing who they really are. They would have different names, different social security numbers. So I think she still would have been able to collect on them.
Yeah.
As of 2018, the police were still receiving tips about the twins. WPXI tried to find Patricia and spoke to her mother instead. She said she had no idea where Patricia is and said she had not seen the twins in years. Sadly, it seems the authorities believe Ivon and Inisha Fowler are deceased. But, like we've said, there's no proof of this. Their bodies haven't been located. Many people online have theorized that Patricia harmed the children, but obviously that's speculation.
Sure.
Because there's no proof that the children were harmed by her or anyone else. One of the strange things about this case is that it's very difficult to find recent articles about it. And I'm assuming it's because nothing much has happened in recent years.
If Patricia kind of has went AWOL, where else is there to go for information?
Right. What'd she get? 4 years probation. She had to pay that money back, which, good luck with getting that.
That's never going to happen.
Daytwan got off. I don't really have a big issue with that.
No.
I don't think, obviously, he should have done what he did, but I do think he was probably pressured heavily by his mother.
He wanted to protect his mom.
Yeah, he was probably doing it for her.
I just, I feel for these kids. Whatever happened to them, I don't think we're ever going to know. I think this is always going to be unsolved because I don't think there's a way to solve it.
No, I go back to the burn incident.
Yeah.
And Patricia not wanting to take Ivon to the hospital. If you kind of stretch that pattern out over the next 4 or 5 years, you could see a scenario where these kids, if they were not being taken care of properly, which is not a real leap, I don't think, they get sick, they don't get the medical attention they need, and they could have died.
Yeah.
And from there, it would be a matter of her hiding their bodies. I mean, again, this is all speculation, just so that she can, collect
money,
the benefits.
I'm also sitting here thinking, I don't know what the relationship of their father to Patricia was and what his relationship to the kids were. But, he was told, hey, they're with their aunt living down in whatever state. They're fine. They're having a good life, right? And then for him to find out, they never call me. I never talk to them. Now I'm hearing that they might not even be around. What the heck?
Well, but was he trying?
I don't know.
We don't know. And I think that's a question. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It could have just been that he was told that and
he was fine.
He was fine with that.
Yeah. I just, how much I love kids. And I just hate the fact that 2 kids, something bad happened to them is my gut instinct. And it didn't need to.
Well, and I think when it's, I won't say at the hands of a parent, it kind of is. I don't think that she killed them. I really don't.
No, I think something bad happened.
I lean more towards something happening to them. Now, you could say that it could have been her fault because of her neglect and abuse and bad parenting.
Yeah. I just feel like the kids were let down by a lot of people.
Yeah. I think that's very fair to say.
Yeah.
Family, mom, dad, agencies.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of blame to go around for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of blame to go around for a few people.
Sure.
I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
But you do feel for them very much. You can find information about Ivon and Inisha on the NCMEC's website, missingkids.org. If you have any information about their whereabouts, you can submit a tip on the NCMEC website or call the Penn Hills Police Department at 1-412-795-3500.
And I hope people do. I know the Penn Hills Police Department, they still get tips every year.
You know the Penn Hills Police Department?
I don't know. I know that they get tips.
Okay.
They mentioned it on a news show.
Okay, because you said, I know the Penn Hills Police Department.
Get tips.
Okay.
Yeah. So keep giving those tips.
No, obviously, that's why we give out the information. Hopefully, if there is anybody out there that knows anything, now's the time to speak up. But that's it for our episode on Ivon and Inisha Fowler. We got some voicemails, Gibbs. You want to check those out?
Let's hear them.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. This is Stevie Ups from Staten Island. And yes, I do work for UPS. And I am #Team Gibby. Just want to say your show is awesome. I'm a long road trucker for UPS. I've binged every episode of T-Cats since I think I just started in November, and all the Patreon episodes, and now I'm on True Time All the Time Unsolved, up to episode 40. So just keep what you guys are doing. It's awesome. Love it. Oh, got a little something I want to say. I think you should do a little segment on what you feed Gibby every Friday night, all the free meals that he gets. I like to hear it. I'm kind of a foodie. So just keep up what you're doing. Listen to you for about 10 hours a night, and love the show. And keep your own time ticking.
Look at that, man. He's keeping Brown moving.
Yep. Hashtag short brown shorts.
That's right. I should break mine out and wear them again.
Please do not. Please do not. First of all, I'm not sure they will fit.
I guarantee you they will not fit at this point.
So I will say we had Jersey Mike's tonight.
We did.
You had turkey. You're very bland. Your palate is very bland.
It's very healthy.
It is. You just don't like a lot of different types of foods.
Yeah, I got my go-tos.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
but you have that new cooking device.
Oh, the Blackstone?
Yeah.
I don't have it yet, but my family has ordered me a Blackstone.
Yeah, so I'm looking
super
forward to
excited.
some of the things you're going to whip up for us on that. I say we because I plan on stopping back
to see what we get.
Yes.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. My name's Amelia. I was just giving you guys a call because I just watched the John Bonet documentary on the ID channel, Investigation Discovery, and I'm just watching like the last episode of this little docuseries. It's titled "He Calls Himself Daxus," and I don't know if you guys wanted to look into that. I'm sure you guys have probably seen this docuseries. It's just 3 episodes, about 40 minutes long each. I think it's definitely solvable. He gives an interview. This is with the gentleman who was, I'm putting my air quotes up, falsely accused, because he's clearly involved. But he gives an interview at the last episode, and he knows who did it. He's trying to not get himself in trouble. He basically admits to actually still being involved, yet there was other people involved in John Bonet's life that assisted him and made it possible and stuff. I mean, he still claims that it was an accident, but I don't know. I think this is solvable, and I know you, was it you guys? It could have been True Crime Garage that had, was it Lou's, I guess I call him his understudy on about this case. And again, I'm sure he's seen this, but there's some suspicious things in that interview. It's like he's coming on knowing that everyone thinks that he did it. Knowing that he did it, I guess I should say, but knowing that they can't actually accuse him anymore or convict him of it. Yeah, it's like he's like dangling a carrot in front of your face. Anyways, just something I was thinking about. Unsolved. Team Gibby, have a good one.
All right, thanks for the voicemail. I haven't actually seen that yet. So
I have not either.
I will take a look at it.
I know that John Ramsey was at CrimeCon.
Yeah, has been for the last few years.
Yep, and I know he made the statement that he feels like this case will be solved soon.
And I wonder if that is based on, inside information or just the thought that he has to have to keep going.
Yeah. The hope.
But he might, I'm sure he's privy to more information than most.
Oh, yeah, I would think.
But we'll
have to catch that.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
All right, that is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Action fans, this is your summer. With Pluto TV's Summer of Cinema, stream hundreds of your favorite movies all for free. Should you choose to accept non-stop thrills, stream Mission Impossible. Love classic action adventure? Watch Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Or if you prefer cars that are robots, there's Transformers and Transformers Dark of the Moon. Download the Pluto TV app to feed your need for action all summer long. For free. Summer of Cinema on Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.